Yo guys, it's Kyle coming at you from Bane's Film Reviews. I just saw Harold and the Purple Crayon, directed by Carlos Saldana, starring Zachary Levi, Lil Howery, and Zoe Deschanel. If you are familiar at all with the children's book, it is about Harold, who is a little boy, possesses a purple crayon with mystical, magical powers where anything and everything that he draws comes to life. The now adult version of Harold decides that he wants to find his father, or the old man as he is referred to throughout the course of this film. So he and his best friends travel to the real world in search of him, make some new friends along the way, and some enemies, and that's pretty much the entirety of the film. I won't tell you whether or not they actually find the old man. That's sort of irrelevant to the plot and the story as a whole anyway. This is very much a children's film. I knew that going in. I was not expecting anything different. I am not disappointed by any means that this was a children's film. It is not a film that is necessarily made for me or made for adults that don't have children, or for adults that maybe didn't read that book when they were a child, because I don't know where I was, but I don't think that I ever read Harold and the Purple Crayon. Oh, don't say crown, it's crayon. Crayon as a child. I don't know if that's my fault. I don't know if that's my parents' fault. But that almost kind of seems like an issue, considering I know what an important book this is and how popular it is in terms of children's literature. With that being said, it does a really, really good job of appealing to kids. It's silly, it's goofy, it's twisted, it's full of magic and fantasy, and it's basically everything that kids could want. If you want your kids to do something in the final weeks leading up to school, or you want to do something with your kids, you want to do something fun and interesting with them, and maybe you don't go to the movies all the time, I think this is a really safe film to take them to. They will enjoy it. There were kids sitting to the left of me that thoroughly enjoyed it, laughed throughout, and that's really all that the team behind the film is expecting and really hoping for, other than, making a little bit of cash in the process. Beyond that, it's actually a really well-made film. I don't care about the plot. I don't care about the narrative. I really don't care about that stuff. That's not what it's meant for me. As a critic, I'm looking at the technical aspects, the acting, the writing, the directing, the blend of animation and live action, because that is so integral to this film. With that said, I think they do an absolutely brilliant job of blending live action and animation. It is seamless down to the most minor details. They do a spectacular job of bringing these animated characters to life, transitioning them into actual live action characters in Zach Levi and Lil Howery, as well as some other characters that I won't get into, because there's a lot to unpack in that regard, and I just don't have time, and I don't think you want to hear me ramble for 25 minutes about that. It's really, really impressive. Maybe the best part of the entire film is the way that they're able to blend these two filmmaking techniques. Beyond that, I think the soundtrack is absolutely spectacular. It's fun, it's whimsical, it again is everything that you'd hope for in a kid's film. But it also just sort of appealed to me in a way that it was fun and upbeat, and it allowed me to remain focused on the film and interested in what was taking place. I, again, didn't care much for the narrative. I don't need to. I did find myself getting tired and getting very close to dozing off at times. But I don't think that's a knock on the film. That's me as an adult with no kids. Again, not meant for me. It's not necessarily meant to appeal to me, and I'm okay with the fact that maybe I wasn't on board with most of what was happening in terms of the storyline. Now, as an adult, no kids would pick up on this, or I highly doubt that kids would pick up on this, but I, as an adult, actually found Zachary Levi's performance creepy. Had this soundtrack been darker, more harrowing, they could have very easily turned Harold and the Purple Crayon into a horror film. This is a grown man who is incredibly naive, doesn't really know what's going on in the real world, comes off a bit predatory, if you don't know that about the character and the film as a whole. He makes friends with a kid, stays at the kid's house. The kid is running away from school and his mother to hang out with this grown man. It is a very odd concept when you look at the film that way. If you don't know what the point of the film is, and if they just switch a few things, which I think would be really interesting. Obviously, it wouldn't be very successful, but it would be an incredibly interesting take. It reminded me of this idea where we've seen, or many of us have seen, Elf, starring Will Ferrell. The trailer kind of turned into a horror film. And I can picture Harold and the Purple Crayon getting that same treatment not too far in the future. It is a bit creepy, but I think that performance is warranted. I don't think it's anything that Levi did wrong. I think it's completely relevant and necessary to the film. And as an adult, you just sort of have to look past that if you want to accept the things that are happening. Again, a decent film. Don't care about the story. That's not meant for me. I'm not knocking the film when I say that. I very much enjoyed the animation. I very much enjoyed the blend of live action and animation together. I thought the soundtrack was very cool, very interesting. This will 100% appeal to any child, probably under the age of 12, that you bring to see this. Again, the kids in the theater loved it, and rightfully so. I am actually going to give this film a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's worth spending some money on. Do you need a rush to the theater? No, but again, if you'd like to spend some time with your kids as we get closer to school, which being a teacher makes me really unhappy, this is a great place and a great thing to do with your kids as a last thing before school starts. Again, 7.5 out of 10. I recommend it. Until next time, peace.